And we're back. So, with this series, just expect the unexpected. Just a quick little intro synopsis. Beef is a 2023 American comedy drama miniseries, dark comedy, created by Korean director Lee Sung-jin for Netflix. It stars Stephen Yoon and Ali Wang as Danny Cho and Amy Lau, two people whose involvement in a road rage incident pits them against each other, and nearly every episode delves into something that you weren't expecting. Now, is there a possibility, just before I even get into anything, is there a possibility for season two? Perhaps, because when it was initially pitched to Netflix, it was supposed to mirror something like The White Lotus, Black Mirror, maybe American Horror Story, where it's just a new topic at hand per season. So there's a possibility. I think honestly they knocked it out of the park. It's a complex story about insecurities, anxiety, growing older, having regrets, wishing you can go back, redo certain aspects of your life, parenthood, motherhood, being the breadwinner when you're the female. Like, it literally flipped everything on its head, as opposed to you just assuming how things are going to play out in this show. And like I had mentioned in the other video, how just tells you how conditioned we are when we've watched so many other shows. That you would assume that the other driver that had started this entire quote unquote beef was male, and turned out to be female. It flips it on its head, because even as we progress in the story, we see Amy came from nothing. Like, she really had to work hard and scratch her way to the success that she has attained for herself. And she is the breadwinner. I mean, she married into what she thought was wealth. And I don't think that was her ambition. I think she genuinely just liked her husband, who plays George, I believe, and his name is Joseph Lee. But he literally didn't have much. And his mom, Patty Ustaki, who plays Fumi, they're very creative, artsy, family. And the breadwinner of that family, although his mother is an artist, was really like his dad. And his dad, perhaps for poor judgment, poor investments, didn't leave Georgie enough money for them to sustain a successful, wealthy life. So everything that Amy has attained over the years has been based on her own sweat and tears, and blood, sweat, and tears. She's an entrepreneur who, had these like very flamboyant, artsy looking plants, and started out just her driving herself everywhere to get that word of mouth recommendation. And then, once conglomerates are involved, big brands are involved, yeah, and things pop off. So she has put a lot of pressure on herself. What I loved about the story too, it is an immigrant story, but it's not played heavy-handed. There are constant instances in this story, and I wish honestly that they would apply the same kind of recipe for Latinx stories, where, look, we're bicultural. We're bicultural, we're bilingual, we are what our parents are, but we're also very American. So you see the instances, code switching, language that that best fits communicating to our parents, but we're still very much American, that we will listen to Hoobastank, and we will listen to Incubus and relate. And it's just so funny how they even wove those songs, and it takes on a totally different meaning. Very Jordan Peele, right? When we had that intro trailer to Us, I think it was called, the film, and they had like I Got Five on it, and they kind of slowed down the pace, and it had another connotation. Like after a while, like when you start, again, music is up to the person who is listening to it. Like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and music is open to interpretation. But it takes a different meaning and a different undertone. And the first episode alone, you're kind of like, what the hell is this? And I loved it. I think that's why I fell in love with the story, just the way the first episode ended. And how we could see that Danny's character has been kicked around. He is the eldest of his immigrant home, right? Both his parents are immigrants, but are hardworking and somehow attain the property to run a hotel. Poor Danny, being the outsider and always feeling left out until his brother comes along. But you can see that he has this like closeness and affinity to his brother because he felt lonely, he felt alone and not well liked. So again, those insecurities play into these characters. And we see like literally the trials and tribulations of these two characters and how the insecurities that were unfortunately set in them when they were children has now grown into and moved on into their adult life. Even down to Amy's, suppressed anger, and why she feels that she needs to go after Danny. Gave her purpose. Like that's how the first episode ends, and we hear Hoobastank, and it's like they found a reason. Like all of a sudden, because they were angry at each other, it's almost they found a purpose to their existence and seeking revenge in each other. And the way that both of them kind of go at it, you start seeing like, wow, they're nearly identical in how they kind of see life, not necessarily in their upbringing, perhaps too, because they are very hardworking, but unfortunately Danny has seen more of the failures and Amy has seen more of the successes in life, and you feel for Danny, but it's one mishap after another mishap, and all he wants, because unfortunately his parents lose their footing in a hotel that they had purchased because of unfortunate contraband that they weren't aware of that was passing through their hotel because of their nephew and Danny's cousin Isaac, played by David Cho, which I loved. I think he was like straight up hip hop, straight up urban. But still very Korean. I loved it. Like there's so many instances here that you can relate to, even though you're living vicariously through another culture. Naomi too, who's like the nosy neighbor, very much invested in Amy's life, played by Ashley Park. And if she looks familiar, she was in Emily in Paris. Gorgeous and very talented actress, and I do recommend you watching her in Emily in Paris. And also even I clocked Justin H. Min, who was in The Umbrella Academy. He plays Edwin. But there's so many things here. There's spiritualism. There is existentialism. Theories played into nearly every episode. Again, it's just so smartly written and and still doesn't like lack the humor of like how they're kind of constantly playing cat and mouse literally between Amy's character and Danny. And the fact that Amy goes to that point of even seducing Danny's brother, Paul, played by young Massino. Man, like she really went there and was like, I'm gonna get under his skin and whatever, and really dissect this dude through his brother. And it's just like, who can top who can top who? And you are in 10 episodes, 30 minutes apiece, and you're just like, if you had like a bag of popcorn, it would be like, yes, give it to me. I literally binged this in a night, and I I wanted more. So again, if Netflix, please, if you can bring in another beef, uh, where's the beef? Seriously, like I really enjoyed this story, and it was something that I just don't think I've seen in recent years or recent months. Nothing. A24, again, they really know how to select projects, are not afraid to push that envelope. Um, Even the ending was like, what? I won't spoil that for you, but we see how these two really, these personalities were built, and how more or less that they were more